Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the weekly show with Aditya, India's number one podcast, with India's number one host, Aditya. Coming to you live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. In association with Dusra.net, the number one website in sports, education, and entertainment. This is episode 52 on the 1st of April 2019. The time by the studio clock is 10:50 am. The Sultan Azlan Shah Cup ended on an anticlimactic note for India as we lost in the shootouts. On a positive note, we have now earned a silver medal, which is better than being placed third or fourth because India, for a lot of years, had to be content with themselves playing the third or fourth position matches. But this time they entered the final, and even if they did not win, yes, that is a disappointing thing. It augurs well for the upcoming matches. Shootouts will always be a tricky moment in hockey. Everything happens so fast. If you are able to score goals in the opposition's net, once hockey dribbling skills are given much appreciation. But if your own goalkeeper is unable to defend the ball, then the question would be that have you practiced enough with your own goalkeeper so that he or she can defend the goal? But at the same time, you have to be competent and smart enough to score a goal in the opposition's net. There is a lot of permutation and combination that happens when one is in the shootouts, which means that it would be good if one is able to secure a win in the regulation time. The finals, which took place this Friday, the score was 1 apiece for both the teams at the end of the regulation 70 minutes, which meant that both teams were competent and smart as to not allow too many goals in the net. It also meant that if either of the teams had an advantage, an equalizer by the opposition, the teams put pressure on themselves that if the score went to 1-all at regulation time, eventually India did lose the shootout, but they gained a lot. We tend to romanticize tangible elements like winning and losing, but winning and losing are just mere words. These performances may not satiate those sitting in boardrooms or those who write about the sport, but it will certainly give the actual individuals who participated in the sport a lot of confidence going further into big matches. Come the Olympics in 2020, Netherlands, Germany, Australia, South Africa will be the tougher opponents, as well as the world champions Belgium. As a rule, performances against Korea, Japan, Malaysia, Poland, Canada tends to go unnoticed. The ones against former champions Australia, Netherlands, Germany, and the current champions Belgium will make people sit up and watch if we can defeat these teams, or even if we can have a 1-all result and take the matches into the shootouts. Despite all odds, the razzmatazz surrounding the Indian T20 domestic tournament continues on its own merry way. Oblivious to the people who come and watch in the stadium, the matches go on beyond 12 am with restrictions on parking, and one has to walk over 3 to 4 kilometers from the nearest taxi, bus, and metro station towards the stadium. If the matches continue to end beyond 12 a.m., then transportation will be a big hurdle. With no bus or metro services at that hour, one has to rely on taxis or the three wheelers who will take advantage of the panic created by the limited transportation facilities available. For a 8 p.m. match, one has to leave their house at 4 p.m. because even if the distance from one's residence to the stadium is 10 kilometers, it is the cosmetic security measures that delay getting into the stadium. It is evident that the bus and the metro authorities will not extend to an overnight service. The only solution to matches ending on time is that the players involved in the middle and the umpires look for the word discipline in the dictionary and follow it to the letter. Why should it take 2 hours to complete 20 overs when the regulation time calls for 90 minutes? Despite this tournament being called the best in the world, which allows players to get opportunities, time management is a factor which hasn't seeped into the DNA of the teams involved. Come the World Cup, and you will see the definition of time management drastically change. So, for 45 days in a year, people forget all rules and all moralities. That is why I refrain from calling this the best T20 domestic tournament. Yes, it is a good tournament which allows for opportunities, but such practices mar it from being called a good tournament. As someone who has watched multiple T20 domestic tournaments, at this point of time, all are on an equal footing. That is the Australian T20 domestic tournament or the BBL, the South African T20 domestic tournament or the Manzi Super League, the Caribbean Premier League have the glamour without compromising on the basic tenets of a sporting match. WrestleMania is only a week away. I am your host Aditya, the one and only WWE expert in India. The matchup between Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar is the most anticipated match in this year's WrestleMania. Rollins and Lesnar, who are former world WWE champions, now vie for the biggest prize of them all, something which has been given more weight than the WWE Championship, that is the Universal Championship. Lesnar has had the weight over his opponents, ranging from Roman Reigns to Braun Strowman to even Finn Balor as well as AJ Styles, whom he faced at the Survivor Series. Unlike Rollins, who relies more on his agility and high flying maneuvers, Brock Lesnar is someone who will use his power game to outwit his opponent. He will first deliver a couple of vicious suplexes, a move where a wrestler holds his or her opponent by the waist and then yanks him over the shoulder to soften the opponent. One won't see Lesnar try any audacious move, for example, doing maneuvers from the top rope or a suicide dive, which is a high jump through the top ropes. If Rollins has to win this championship, then he has to conserve his energy for the first couple of minutes in the match and allow his opponent Lesnar to be the one losing all the sweat. As always, such matches against Lesnar are labeled as the David Goliath match because the ball is in the court of Lesnar. With Lesnar's hype man and spokesperson Paul Heyman lingering outside the rope, there is a chance of interference, and they hope for such interferences because if Paul Heyman does something and the referee notices it, then Lesnar will be defeated through disqualification but will retain the championship. It's going to be an interesting match between two of the toughest opponents in this business. The second match that one looks forward to is the one between Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan for the other championship, that is the WWE Championship. Keeping us on the edge for a couple of weeks, the WWE administration finally decided to make the Daniel Bryan Kofi Kingston match official. This one, unlike the previous one, will be a close contest, and I'm labeling it a 50-50 situation. This was pre-WrestleMania special part 1. For part 2, stay tuned to this program. I will be back with more such in-depth analysis by the only WWE expert in India. The good old days. What a fascinating term. It has become a fashion to label good old days as the days where there was minimum technology, and by technology we mean no mobile phones, no computers, no TVs. We continue on this myopic journey of restricting the definition of technology that has come in the last decade, and anything before that was welcome and acceptable. We love the grainy, poor quality videos because that reflected, and I quote, simpler times. It just shows our fickle nature. We want electronic gadgets so that less trees will be cut and pollution will be under check. But on the other hand, we detest these same gadgets because these gadgets one day would translate into e-waste. E-waste being electronic waste. What is artificial intelligence? And let's not go into the hardcore definition which has been given by some scientists. Rather, let's look at it more objectively. Anything that is not natural is artificial, which would include typewriters, fax machines, even the wristwatch on your hand, even the wall clock in your room, even the cycle that we so proudly possess is artificial. We have invented another word, depression, and we have connected it to technology, that the use of technology precipitates depression. The pen and the handwritten material we are so proud of, well, the pen is also artificial intelligence. In fact, we hoodwink ourselves by suffixing intelligence to the word artificial and thereby demeaning the word intelligent. Then we have a fear in our minds that there will be a rise of machines like what happened in the fictional film The Terminator. A day would come when the machines would rise on their own and try to take over humanity. I do look forward to this day, but I appreciate the imagination of the writer who even had such profound thoughts, which would have been considered an oddity 3 decades ago. At no point of time was life ever simple, and equating simplicity to the lack of gadgets is an eyewash. As we move into April, we move away from one exam and then we are faced with another set of unnecessary examinations, which are now called as the entrance examination, all to get into a, and I quote, prestigious institution. The rhetoric of completing the syllabus is never ending. Once again, it is the last minute preparations, and the pride with which we call ourselves entrance examination aspirants, the audacity with which we use the word labor market, and how we need to keep ourselves skilled so that we can match the demands of the labor market. Skilling is now an overkill. It's a bubble which we have wrapped around ourselves, and anything less than that is unacceptable and non negotiable. The more things change, the more they remain the same. Go into a good school, get good marks so that we can get into a good college, pass out from the college with high marks so that we can get a high paying job, and this has not changed despite the so called modern world. There could be a few minor changes as one also takes online courses, but the whole idea is to take courses either online or concrete, and the rhetoric and the narrative about the whole idea of jobs, economy, employment seems to be stuck in a loop. So, if you want to be a part of my show, please send your valuable suggestions and send your recordings on topics ranging from sports, education, and entertainment on the email ID Aditya the writer at gmail.com. That is Aditya the writer at gmail.com. Thank you for listening to this episode. Please like and subscribe to my Facebook page and YouTube channel, and stay tuned for the next episode.